Good morning, all. We are live and alive, barely, on today, Monday, 31st of March. Last day of March. We've made it. It's spring. Yes, we've just gone live. Your timing, as always, is impeccable, darling. Come on. We're both very sleepy today. It is the first Monday after the clocks change in the UK, so, dear God, I am tired. Doing this before work, always a great idea. But we have a fun episode today. Wanted to get back to this, get some progress made, now that we've got spoilers out of the way for Tarkir Dragonstorm. Today, we're going to be back at looking at our multiplayer cube. So where we've left off, we'll do a very quick overview, because this is the 4th episode on this. Was it the 5th episode? Either way, we've been having a lovely time. So, what we're doing is we're building a multiplayer cube. It's going to be 540, and our general power level is going to be unpowered vintage, but we're still kind of finding where the top end of that is. We're still working out, really, like is it going to be like Minsk and Boo, or is it going to be a bit below that? But that's kind of what we'll find out as we go about building the cube. But kind of those are the range of cards that we're looking at. The format for this is going to be the end result is that we're going to aim to be drafting with 8 players. When everyone's drafted, they're going to have 40 card decks, 20 card life, and I'm going to start with 2 pods of 4 playing each other. The top 2 from each pod play each other in a second round. The bottom 2 from each other play each other in a non-winners bracket, in a losers bracket. So that's kind of like the goal of the multiplayer. The reason for doing it that way is because games just don't last as long as Commander Cube. I also find that if you don't have to draft your commander, you can be a bit more free in terms of what you build. You're more open to to splashing and that kind of stuff. Whereas I find commander cubes, if you don't get your 3-color commander or your 2-color commander with a cool ability quite early, you're a bit stuck. Because you could be drafting your seat and just not end up with a good deck because someone with a 3-color deck took your 2-color commander, for example. So the archetypes that we have already are on screen here. I won't go through them until they come up. Because today we need to finish off putting in our staples. So last time, so this is where we are currently with the cube. We have our gold cards put in. Our gold cards signpost us to what the archetypes are going to be doing. We have our mana in. We have our white cards. So we have our white removal, staple white removal, and a couple of board wipes. For blue, we have our cheap cantrips. You see them in every cube. We have our blue counter magic. It's not the counter magic is not premium, and that's kind of on purpose. We're thinking more dismiss than force of will. This is what I'm saying about we're still finding out where the power is. Like, I want counter magic to be in this, but it's what do we want people to be countering? I don't want people to be countering everyone. Like there's going to be a control deck in this, but I don't want the control deck to just counter every spell that everyone is doing. Like, go have your breakfast, darling. I want it to be like stopping like a 8-drop spell, like a win con. I'm fine with a counter spell countering a win con. I don't want someone just holding up mana all the time and not able to really react, or just not be involved with the game. Also with this cube as well, sorry, there's going to be more focus on combat because I want people attacking. I want to incentivize people to do things in the game. So that's why we do have things like monarchy. There will be more monarchy cards. Whether we go to initiative is to be seen. I really like initiative in multiplayer. In 1-on-1, I think it's cracked. But in multiplayer, initiative could still work just because it incentivizes. It does the game mechanic thing I want of it incentivizes people to attack and people to interact with each other. But it's just it is an extra level of effect that you have to keep track of, and maybe I can't be asked with that. So in black we have all of our black removal. There's quite a lot actually. We have a bit of card draw as well in here. And why do we have conspiracy in here? I was tired when we made the last one of this. I don't know why conspiracy's in here. Let's remove conspiracy for the time being. Oh, it's probably because we are going to have conspiracies, and is that? Did I leave this here as a reminder for myself? There will be conspiracies in this cube, and that's something we're going to be looking at today, actually, because conspiracies are sick, and we want to get them in the cube. We've also got our red. So when I say card draw, Inti is sort of red card draw. We've got this. It's part of a package because Gruul really wants a specific type of card draw. It wants cards that both are discarding stuff for the Madness deck, but also wants stuff that involves casting stuff from exile for the Gruul deck. That is a bit of a niche overlap, so that's kind of why we have things like Inti and Magmatic Channeler and Party Thrasher. Like they might, and like Lalia, like they might not look like card advantage, but they are in this cube card advantage. The fact they also kill people is also great. So I think we are at the point where we need some red burn. We have Bonecrusher Giant. So it's red burn that also you can cast it from exile if it's been on a lovely adventure, then it will trigger some of the stuff that we want in the cube, which is great. Cool. So let's finish off. I think if I'm honest, I'm just going to kind of start getting through this because I want to get to the conspiracies because they're cool and rad. So this is my budget base. This is what I made a while ago when doing a series on how to build a cube, and basically this is just a good reference for all of these are cards that if you put in a cube you would be fine, like any cube. Like it's a budget base. I will at some point, maybe on this stream, we'll build a staple list for like a powered cube, that kind of thing. That could be a fun video. But basically, kind of everything that's yellow can go in a 360 cube. Anything that's orange can go in a 540 cube, and black you get up to 720. So we are a 540 cube, so we can run anything, or we can muck around with this. But as like a base, these are pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to get these in. There is a world where in the future we come back and look at these once we're a bit more in tune with our archetypes and what things are doing, and when we're adding cards, we can like again, we haven't purchased anything yet, or I'm going to be proxying all this, but I haven't proxied anything for this yet. I have not made an order or anything like that, so we're not tied to anything. So we can put cards in, but we can remove them later. That's something that's important. Like we are not super tied to these. Like we're going to get some interaction in here now, but if when we're going through archetypes later, we're like, the Gruul deck needs another bit, we can cut a generic bit of interaction. So like, I'm going to add Lightning Bolt because I like Lightning Bolt. It is a good card that is useful in most decks. Like most red decks, even multiplayer, will love a Lightning Bolt. It's flexible, it's efficient, we love it. If later on we need a more synergistic bit, like we already have Cathartic Pyre in here, it's a damage effect that also can be a rummage. There are more effects like this. Hello, have you had your breakfast? Yeah, you have. Come on, I know we're both sleepy, darling. Come on. Come to Pappy, please. Oh, she's big sleepy. When she just kind of like flops to the floor in your hands, and you know that she's sleepy. So let's just get some more burn in here. I think we're going to keep it. I think a braid is probably a good shout, just because we will be having big artifacts in here. It's a nice little artifact of that. Let's do burst lightning as well. Meow. Do we just want incinerate and probably? I think I might actually look for one with a scry. Let's do searing spear just because it is efficient. That's not how you spell. Oh, I didn't even think about how bad the spelling is going to be today. Damn. All right, let's have a quick look actually. While we are looking for, let's try and find a synergistic bit of interaction to go in, because I know we want damage, but I think we also like. Ideally, we would want a burn spell that can also be a combat trick. That would be rare, but I don't think that exists. I think we want Magma Jet, maybe over Searing Spear. So this is what I'm saying. We're going for slightly less efficient bits, but this will interact with what the deck is trying to do. Because we have a spells-based deck, and just a bunch of decks just generally will like a bit more. Oh, Jai's Greeting is Magma Jet has been power crept. Forgot about that. Right, Jai, yes. Just having the little scry here. Yeah, I think that's worth it. I think having the 3 more damage for 1 scry, I think that's fine. Right. Let's see if there is a damage plus. Let's see if there is a combat trick that can also be. Ooh, Blood Frenzy's a removal spell. Ooh, I love this card. All right, we do actually. I'm actually going to put this in red, but Blood Frenzy is a great card. I think we might go with this actually. So one thing that I really liked in my bigger Treat Yourself cube is the thing with that cube is you games are going longer. You're doing bigger things. You have more mana, which is generally how multiplayer things tend to be. Is things like split cards, just running more split cards. So I think that might be something that we look at later on, just like having a look at more split cards and more spree type things. Spree's a split card. Don't worry about it. Great Train High seems a pretty solid one. I think that I don't think that is what I wanted, but target creature gets +1 per so until end of turn. Then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Okay, perfect. That is a combat trick and a removal spell. I think that might come in. And then I'm going to look at Blood Frenzy. I love this card. Blood Frenzy is 1 and a red. Instant. Target attacking or blocking creature gets +4 per so until end of turn. At the end of turn, destroy that creature. This is a really interesting card because it's multiplayer. So it does have to attack or block. If your opponent skips through combat, yes, there is a combat phase, but there isn't like oddly the attack. Like it has to attack, that kind of stuff. So, but I think this is quite funny. It basically, if an opponent attacks someone, you can buff up their creature. They will deal more damage to your opponent, and then it will destroy their creature. That's pretty funny. I think this card's great. This is a perfect card for this. This is the type of card that kind of like leads to stories. Like, I can't believe you blood frenzied my creature, etc., etc. That's nice, right? So I think we're good with... We have our base for red card draw and our base for red burn. Let's move on to green. Shockingly, the staples for green is mainly just your ramp. And it's how are you going to be doing your ramp. So for this, like the peak green ramp, which I think we might not add in for this. We're going to add like a good green ramp section, but not like the premium. Like, we're probably going to add things like Avacyn's Pilgrim, Elvish Mystic, Findhorn Elves, this kind of stuff, rather than like Birds of Paradise. And just the reason for that is green soup decks you really have to be careful of in cube. In more powerful cubes, like in powered cubes and vintage cubes, in powered vintage cubes and unpowered vintage cubes, you don't have to worry about it too much because the goal is to just build the strongest format possible. But in lower powered level cubes where you're trying to balance stuff, you do need to be careful on just giving green access to all the other colours, because the best deck just becomes a green-based deck that you splash the best cards in every other colour. Like green soup, you do need to be careful of. So that's why we're going to keep it pretty simple and so going for ramp that only generates 1 colour, so it doesn't really help with your fixing that much, is a nice way of doing it, because it keeps it in the green deck. It means you don't have that go away or that kind of free soup mid-rangey deck. On 1 mana especially, I think that is important on lower powered level cubes. If you're doing it in so two mana ones, I think are fine. So things that are 2 mana, it's fine for every deck fixing that, because it's a cost. It's not something that you're just going to do early game and then you'll have your deck sorted for the rest of it. Like your mana's perfect basically. So let's get Avacyn's Pilgrim in here. Let's get Elvish Mystic. Again, once we got our base, we're then in a pretty good place to do some cool stuff. Like what, elves? Alright, let's get Paradise Druid in here. Yes, more counter. I think we're fine. Yeah, rampant growth I think is going to be okay. I think, generally speaking, this is going to be slightly more aggressive than like an averagey commander deck, because you are on 20 life, so you can get under people. But I do think green, being the deck that can go a bit bigger, is going to be nice. And that's kind of where this ramp section will really get some good use, basically. Wild Growth. Wild Growth, great magic card. How much higher are we going to go? Let's go secure a Dry Builder. Let's actually look at my regular cube and see what fixing. Actually, let's go to the treat yourself cube, because this is a bit more commander based. So what do we have? What do we like? I do like Twitching Doll, but we're not really doing anything graveyardy. We're doing stuff countery in Golgari. Yeah, I think we might leave it there for the time being. I think that's good. The only other thing is just a bit of green interaction, and this normally comes in the way of like shatter effects. So I don't think we're actually going to put Rex Age. We can go a bit more bigger. Let's actually go to my regular. Again, we have so many cubes for us to base on today. And this is kind of... Effectively, other cubes work as nice little pools for you to be working from and building from. So what do we have in here? Cubby Wubby. Ooh, Cankerbloom. I think I like Cankerbloom. We do have decks that care about counters. We have a Watchwolf deck in Selesnya, which is pretty nice. So this is sort of a Watchwolf. It's power anyway. So this will do stuff with counters, it'll remove stuff, and it will be a body. So I think I like that. And actually, I think I saw Armor Scrap Gorger. Are you... No, you're not really a... You are sort of a Watchwolf. Let's put Armor Scrap Gorger in here. So it's a 2-mana rock that can also interact with the graveyard. That's pretty good. I think that's a pretty solid section. It's a mana dork you can turn sideways later in the game. I think that's pretty cool. Alright. So, I think we're happy with this. So, I think green staples is always going to be less, because it is just how much ramp do you actually need. Like, everything else kind of becomes... We have 2 Llanowar Elves. Let's remove one of them. Let's see if there's anything more staple-wise that we might want to add. Ooh, Generous Ents I do like, but I think not in this. No, I think we're good. You can always add one more ramp if you need to, but I think we're good with this. Cool. Right, so we have the base of our cube. This is a pretty solid section. So every color has the bits that it at least needs to function. So because we like if we hadn't already added this is where things like our talismans would come in, but we've already added them. Actually, that does actually remind me. We colorless rocks. So we already have these ones. We already have Azoria Signet, Demir Signet. Let's I think this is where we add a bit of colorless ramp. So something like Everflowing Chalice, or actually probably just Felwar Stone is probably going to be good here. Add 1 mana of any color that your opponents should produce. I think this is going to be pretty solid. Like, we're fine having a couple of color, just other colorless bits of ramp. Like, this is not going to be a Soul Ring format, because Soul Ring is kind of... Soul Ring's messed up like in anything like this. Well, let's add Mind Stone. Meow, darling. And we'll probably do... we could have a big one. Let's do Coalition Relic. I like Coalition Relic. Marvellous. So by adding this, by doing our base, we have the minimum that our cube... Like, this is the minimum section that the cube needs to function. So, meow. Basically, this is the bread and butter. This is everything that the cube... This is the pool of cards that kind of like doesn't really go into set decks, but if you're in these colors in this cube, you will take use of these cards. In like these cards here. So we have our signposts, we have our lands, we have our staples. We're now in a good place to actually start adding some cool stuff to the cube. So the next thing I want to do is start looking at some conspiracies, which isn't normally... This is not normally the section people jump to when they're on this part of the stream. but or in this part of the cube build, if you were just building a regular cube, this is where you would start adding cards specifically for your archetypes. So that we would probably go through and start. This is what we'll do on the next episode. But I wanted to look at conspiracies because I think these are rad, and these are unique things that you get. These are awesome things that you just don't get to play with that much. These only really work in Cube is really the only really place where you can run them, and some of these also only work in multiplayer Cube. So this is kind of the perfect place to run them, and I want to. Some of these are some of the most broken limited cards of all time, like Advantageous Proclamation. Your minimum deck size is reduced by 5. If you have that in a powered cube, your deck is going to be so much more consistent. It's going to be super strong. Same with Backup Plan. Draw an additional hand of 7 cards at the beginning of the game. Before taking mulligans, shuffle all but one of your hands into your library. So this gives you 2 hands of 7. It gives you a free mulligan. In a powered cube, where you could have combos, or you have other bits of power, other strong cards. Backup Plan is a messed up card. Like, these two easily, like, if you're building a cube that is just the strongest cube with all the strongest cards, you're not worrying about how fun it is or anything like that. You're just doing strong cards, so there's initiative in there, all that kind of stuff. Advantageous Proclamation and Backup Plan are in there, as is Power Play. This card's messed up. You are the starting player. If multiple players would be starting the game, you are the starting player. If multiple players would be the starting player, one of them is chosen at random. So that means if there are 2 power plays drafted, if there's only one in a draft format, whoever has power play will always go first. That's in every game, in every round. If you're the aggro deck and you know you're always going to be on the play, think about how strong that is. Like that can just lead to so many free wins. Like again, most powerful cube. This is phenomenal. We are not going to be running power play or Advantageous Proclamation or Backup Plan because they're too good. We are going to run some of the other ones though, and some of the other ones are sick. So cards. The rest of them kind of fall into 2 different categories. You either kind of have like pre-game effects or effects that kind of care about creatures with the same name. So, for example, World Knit. This is a pre-game effect. This one also requires like a build around. So this is a conspiracy that starts the game in the. You start the game with a conspiracy face up in the command zone. As long as every card is in your card pool. Sorry, as long as every card in your card pool started the game in your library or in the command zone, lands you control have tapped to add 1 mana of any color. So this is like a bonus. This is like a cheat unlock that you get for your deck. This is phenomenal if you draft it early. These are really cool. Kind of like this is such a unique effect. You just don't get to play with it that often. Basically, if you have this and you run every card in your pool, all your lands tap for any color of mana. And there's cool ways of building around this, because in theory, like, you might read this and like, I don't need to take lands, or my lands are perfect mana. But you do actually need to take some lands with this, because your deck size will be smaller. Like World Knit, actually, I don't know how World Knit and Advantageous Proclamation works. It probably doesn't. But like with World Knit, you are actually looking to make a smaller deck with it. Like you're looking for a concise deck that just taps for any that with rainbow lands. But yeah, it's a cool build around and is very fun to do. What we're going to be looking at is more of the hidden agendas. So take this one for example. This is a hidden agenda. So that means you start the game with the conspiracy face down in the command zone and secretly name a card. You may reveal the conspiracy face up at any time to reveal the chosen name. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with the chosen name, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So before the game, if you have Lightning Bolt, you can name Lightning Bolt under double stroke. Normally how it works is you either, when you played this in draft, you would just write it on the card because these are only going to be used once. But if you're doing it now when it's in a cube, you get like a little bit of paper, slap it in. It's face down. When you cast your Lightning Bolt, you flip it up and you get 2 Lightning Bolts. That's pretty cool. Again, like this could just be the best card in your deck. So like you wouldn't pick a counterspell because that would do stuff, but like you could. I mean, doing like deep analysis seems pretty vibey because spells with flashback you will get to use twice built into it. That's pretty good. I believe flashback works with this. Whenever you play this card from your graveyard, yeah, I'm pretty positive. Flashback works with double stroke. That's pretty vibes. The one downside with this is obviously Sorry. In limited draft, these get better with multiples. By that I mean, if you have 2 or 3 cards in your deck with the same name, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with a chosen name, you copy it. So this gets better when you have spells that do multiple things, or multiple copies of cards, which isn't normally how cubes work. Cubes are normally singleton. And in this cube, we might be breaking singleton for some cool effects. That's kind of what we're going to be looking at today. So the goal is to get our conspiracies in, and then start thinking about what kind of cards we might want to have as duplicates. And again, this is not something for every cube. This is something that we're doing because I want to do it and it's fun, and we're here on a Monday morning, so let's get some fun things in here. So, which ones do we know are strong? So I think Double Stroke actually gets in just from we have a spells deck. We are like is doing like doubling up combat tricks and that kind of stuff. Is pretty fun. This isn't. It's not cast. So it might not trigger some of our stuff, which is interesting. So things like prowess. I don't think copy triggers prowess, but you will just get an extra version of it. So Magecraft will. Variant Voice of Duality. That's interesting. So this, if we copy something, it will copy. So yeah, Magecraft, but it won't trigger cast. Which is interesting. That is something to keep in mind. But it will. We're still going to be doubling up an effect. So I do think we still want Double Stroke. Double Stroke. All right. What else is a good one? So the Conspiracy 1 had hidden agendas. So hidden agendas were in both Conspiracy 1 and 2. Conspiracy 2 had ones that had ones with coloured pips in them. So this is the hidden agenda from Conspiracy 2. This is the white one. Whenever a creature you control with the chosen name attacks, so again, you write a name before the game starts, you may pay a white. If you do, that creature gains indestructible until end of turn. That one doesn't seem as useful. Like, the ones from the first set are more unique. So we're probably going to be doing the ones from Conspiracy 1, unless they kind of make sense in the deck. So, like, Assemble the Rank and Vial. This one, when a creature dies, you make a black zombie. If we were doing aristocrats in any kind of way, aristocrats was in Conspiracy 2, that would be quite a good card, because you basically with this you named Doom Traveller, and then when your Doom Traveller dies, you make a 1/1 flyer and a 2/2 black zombie. That was the gimmick in that deck. That was pretty solid. Brago's Favour's a good one. Spells with the chosen name you cast cost 1, generic less to cast. Just making any. So even if we don't have anything specific for them to do with this, just making one of your spells costs 1 cheaper. Like making Inti cost a single red. Pretty strong. Especially like later in the draft, these really go up in value. If there's nothing for you in the pack, then nothing in your colours, like a middling card that might make your pool, or a card to buff up one of the best cards in your deck is very strong. Echoing Boon. What do you do? Hidden Agenda again. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets a creature with the chosen name, you may copy that spell. We choose target copy. Okay, this could be perfect for our Blitz deck. So, for example, say we're in Is It Blitz, we're attacking with Balamor, even one of the cast ones. This is still copy, so it doesn't trigger this, but like, if we Giant Growth this, if we've named Balmor, we will double up that spell. So we'll get 2 copies of Giant Growth. That's pretty good. That probably gets in. What else do we have? Alright. Emissary's Ploy is a build around one, so you choose 1, 2, or 3 before the game starts, and you may spend mana. It fixes you. Again, that kind of falls. Same with Hymn of the Wilds. The first creature spell you cast each turn costs 1 generic less to cast. You can't cast into sorcery spells. That's probably not one we're going to be running, because I think that really does limit payups to what they are doing. Hired Heist. Whenever a creature you control with a chosen name deals combat damage to a player, you may play blue if you do draw a card. I think this might get in. Just having its. One of the things that we're looking to do in this cube is to incentivize people to attack, and Ophidians, an Ophidian style of effects that make people draw cards when they deal combat damage to a player, will do that. Good morning, Carbon Khan. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've also adjusted to the clock changes. This tea is medicine at this point in the morning. But I think high dice is pretty solid. It's going to incentivize people to attack. It's going to be pretty great. So, for those just coming in, this is going to be a 540 cube. 540 unpowered. It'll be somewhere below unpowered vintage and like a legacy powered cube, but it is multiplayer. So that's one of the reasons why we're looking at conspiracies, because conspiracies are rad. I think immediate action is going to be a good one because we have aggressive decks. Again, making your Inti cost 1, giving it haste, pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, we just add those in. Oh well. Alright. I don't think we want fire breathing. That might be fine, but I think that's just a bit too generic, if I'm honest with you. I think it's good, but I think it's a bit generic. Alright. Irritative Analysis. This one is a bit too narrow, I think. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell with a chosen name, you may draw a card. So, we are going to be breaking Singleton. How we do that is one thing we're going to be discussing in a moment. Because it's basically, do we run just like 4 ofs? So, like, say, like, let's just take Opt as an example. It's a bread and butter card. Do we run 4 Ops? Or do we run 2 Ops, 2 mental notes? That kind of thing. Just even because I want to incentivize people to use conspiracies because they're fun and they can be very powerful. If it rewards you for drafting well, and that's something that I like. I like rewarding players who can kind of like 3D chess their way into a cool deck. But like running duplicates does limit the number of cards or number of different cards you can run because you're taking up slots. So like rather than like mental note and like what's a good example? So like rather than burst lightning and lightning bolt, we would run 2 lightning bolts or 2 burst lightnings, for example. So you lose card. It's too early in the morning for this. You lose card diversity, but you lose card diversity and choices from one end, but you get more cool things that people can do. I think it's something that we're going to be exploring in this cube anyway. Again, we haven't bought anything, we haven't proxied anything yet, so we're not tied to anything, so we can change it. I think Muta's Preparation is a great one. Each creature you control with a chosen name enters the battlefield with an additional counter on it. So this, we played a bit of Ryan Sachs's Auto Battler, and this, with Persist creatures, is a combo. It's pretty vibey. Maybe that's something we'll do in this. Probably not, because it's more multiplayer, but that can be quite strong. But we also importantly have counters in Golgari in this cube, so it synergizes with an archetype, so that's pretty good. Similarly with Natural Unity, we do have to pay a green for this, but it is putting counters on stuff reliably, so that's pretty good. Again, we mentioned power play is messed up. We're probably going to do Seekers of Paradise, turns a creature into a Birds of Paradise. And I know earlier in the stream I said we're not going to run Birds of Paradise because I don't want the green soup deck to become a thing, but this isn't a card for the green soup deck. This is a card for any deck that wants to fix. So again, if you have if you have 2 of creatures or cards that makes creatures with different names, which is something we will look at. This could go in a Boros deck. This could be how your Boros deck splashes a blue draw spell, something like that. It's just like, and the other thing I like with conspiracies is it just lets. Basically, these are cards that you can put into your cube without really knowing what the end result is going to be. Players will find cool things to do with them. Like, I've got conspiracies in my Treat Yourself cube. We have a bunch in here. We have these ones. This is in the cube I've already been running. Some of these are in here, like Unexpected Potential, for example. It's in here because the potential is unexpected, and I want to see what people will do with it, and people will do some cool things. And that's very much one of the things of conspiracy, and that's kind of why we want to run them. All right, we have Secret Summoning. Next, whenever a creature with a chosen name enters under your control, you may search your library for any number of cards with that name, reveal them, and put them into your hand and shuffle. So this turns any creature into a Squadron Hawk. That's pretty good. We're going to add it in, but this might get cut once we actually work out what creatures we are going to be doubling up. I'm kind of leaning to running multiples of two copies of a bunch of creatures or instant sorceries rather than necessarily like four of one creature, that kind of thing. Just because I want people to have more opportunity to get these, I think. Sentinel Dispatch, no, that's a pre-game effect that cares about. Gives you a creature, a construct creature, so we're not doing artifacts. Summoner's Bond is a cool one. Double Agenda, I really wish they just did it. I want them to do another conspiracy set so badly. Double Agenda, whenever you cast a creature spell with one of the chosen names, you may search your library for a creature card with the other chosen name and put it into your hand. This is, if you have combos in the cube, again, this could be one that could see Vintage Cube play if you're doing combos. Kiki Jiki, Deceiver Exarch. Cast one, get the other one. That's kind of really good. And again, even if this is Inti Lalia, I cast Inti, I go and get Lalia. Just curving out, killing your opponents. I think Summoner's Bond is a great card. And then Unexpected Potential that we mentioned, we're going to run this one as well. This one, I actually might run multiple of this. I think this card is phenomenal. You may spend. This is one of the best just general build arounds. In the. I won't go into it too much because other people have talked about it more. But Ryan, yeah, I mentioned Ryan Sack's Auto Battler. Basically, one of the things you can do, like you're doing lots of quick games. You're kind of building like a deck that kind of you're playing quick drafts, quick games. But one of the things you can do with that is after a certain amount of time, you get an upgrade, and these conspiracies are the upgrades. But just giving any card in your queue, or drafting this at some point in pack 1, means that at any point in the game, any card that's not in your colours, any multicolored card, you can just take for free, and you're going to be able to cast it. That's really good. Like, I had a deck which was phenomenal in that Auto Battler. It was like a 5-card deck. It was land. I had an Unexpected Potential upgrade on a Siege Rhino. Then I had a Flicker spell, a Clone Effect, and Snapcaster Mage. So I killed my 1-on-1 opponent by having 4 Siege Rhino triggers. And that was made possible with Unexpected Potential because this gave me the mana. This fixed my mana so I could cast everything really easily. That was all possible because of Unexpected Potential. That little package was not something I would ever thought I could do in a 5-card format. But Unexpected Potential allowed that, and I think it's rad. So those are the conspiracies that we're going to be adding, and I think it's a nice little base. We're going to not probably look at Sovereign's Realm or World Knit. These are ones that kind of like do a similar thing to what we mentioned earlier, just like they fix your mana, but with a downside, for example. I don't think we want those. I think this is a good. We've kind of got all the cool ones that we want. So, and 9 conspiracies is a fair bit. So the next thing we're going to look at, we have about 20 minutes or so today before we need to start the day job, is we need cards to work with these. So in theory, these could just be in our cube, and they could just be nice, cool little build-arounds. But realistically, what we need is multiples. To get the most out of these, we need multiples, because these get better the more... If this names one card, you might see it... If these names one card... Sorry. If you name one card in your deck with one of these, you have, I guess a 1 in 40 type. As an example card, chance of seeing that card. With a hand of 7, and you're seeing probably about half your deck maybe, like... You might get to do this once every couple of games, that kind of stuff. But if there's multiple creatures, this is in the command zone. This is like a commander. You always have access to it. You just need to see the card. So basically, what I want to do now is get some creatures that we're going to double up that work in multiple decks, and that's one reason we did the staples first, because we know the staples are going to go in multiple decks because they do multiple things that different decks want. So we'll probably start by adding maybe multiples of these. So, for example, Elvish Mystic, Fyndhorn Elves, and Llanowar Elves. They're kind of all the same creature, if we're honest with you. The reason why we've added them in is because generally cubes are singleton. But we now have cards that want us to have multiples. So why are we running these three. Why don't we cut Finton Elves and add another Llanowar Elves? It's an effect we want, and it's an effect that double ups. That gets better. Like, yes, putting a +1 counter on a Llanowar Elf isn't the most broken thing you can do. But casting a Llanowar Elf and getting another Llanowar Elf, is this one, I think? Whenever a creature with a chosen name enters the battlefield, you may search from them. Yeah. Suddenly, a Llanowar Elf that draws you another Llanowar Elf, that's pretty good. That's guaranteeing you're going to be curving out and ramping. That's not really something that you get to do that often. We're rewarding players for 1+1 = 2. That is good. The other thing with Llanowar Elves that I want to have a look at is this. I have kind of we buried. I not buried the lead, but Llanowar Elves is one of the cards that. This is Llanowar Mentor. This is a green for a creature. And as green and tap it, discard a card, create a 1/1 green elf druid creature token named Llanowar Elves. These tokens are named Llanowar Elves. That means, so while it won't work with Summoner's Bond, because it's not in the deck, it's making it, it will work with something like Secrets of Paradise, for example. So if we name Llanowar Elves, this makes a token named Llanowar Elves that would tap for any colour. So we are going to be looking at the Spell Shaper cycle. I think this is the only actually good one, if I'm honest with you. The Spell Shapers are... what we're going to be searching for is token named. Because these are effects that... that are unique and you don't really get that often. And this is like when we're already in a format that's caring about card names. This is a very niche thing to be going down, but this is kind of what we're after. We are after effects that make card names because that can influence how we get more multiples of a card in a cube without actually having more multiples of a card in a cube. So in this cube we are running 2 Llanowar Elves and 1 Llanowar Mentor, but we could have potentially any number of Llanowar Elves in this cube. What else do we have in here? So this one, for example, Cloud Cedar. So this is an example of one we probably not going to run just because it's not that great. Although we do, again, one thing with these is they are discard outlets. That is something to keep in mind. But discard a card, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with named Cloud Sprite. So we could name Cloud Sprite, and Cloud Sprite I'm assuming is a creature. Is it a creature we want in our cube? Is part of the conversation that we're going to be having now. This probably isn't good enough in our cube, so we're not going to run this one. But this is kind of what we're looking at. We are looking for good ones. So, okay, let's talk about Crowstorm. 2 and a blue sorcery, create a 1/2 bird creature token with flying named Stormcrow Storm. So this will make Stormcrow tokens. So 1/2s are pretty good, but what if all of our Stormcrows entered with a counter on them? I don't hate it. I think we might try it. We might have already immediately found the power outlier, but that's kind of vibey. All right. So let's go through this. So there's 88. So there's only 88 cards that make tokens with names, which is cool. So like Scrap is one. We're looking for names. So, Gold Meadow Lookout. This is a bit too expensive. Discard a card, create a 1/1 white named Gold Meadow Harrier. So Gold Meadow Harrier is so this is definitely something that I think is easier in lower power level cubes because the power level hasn't been really there for this. But Gold Meadow Harrier would be a fine magic card in like a lower power level cube. So doing this little package could be quite nice there, but I don't think that's something that we want. Great Unclean One. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 2 life, and for each opponent who has less life than you, create a 1/3 black demon creature token named Plague Bearer of Nurgle. Does anything else make things called Plague Bearer of Nurgle? Nurgle's Rot. So we could run both of these. That's pretty funny. Nurgle's Rot, single black. a creature. When a enchanted creature dies, return no to its hand. You make a 1/3 black demon. So this is two things that make tokens of the same name. I might keep that one on the back burner. I think I like that because again, this doesn't work with Braga's favorite. This is more so you could creatures you control with haste. So you could run. I'm just thinking how this will work. I think we generally want things named like in the deck. So like the cheaty way and easy way of doing it is just running multiple heir apparents as an example. Like Original Conspiracy did have ones like this where you just run a bunch of creatures with the same name that do things in multiples. Heir apparent would be a good example of that, but I don't think we want. It's not terrible, but I don't think it's what we want. It doesn't go with our archetypes, as it were. Ooh, multiple banana tokens. Kobolds of Care Keep, if they weren't so anemic, could be quite funny. Ooh, Ballistic Boulder is a funny token name. Pink Horror, this one could be quite funny. Pink Horror, when it dies, create 2/2 blue and red demon named Blue Horror. When you, it rewards us for being a spellsy deck. We do already have our multicolored spells, which is kind of a bit. I think that might be a bit too niche. So there's the thing. There isn't a great amount of these effects, which is kind of. Ooh, Rite of the Raging Storm. That's funny. We could put a counter on our Lightning Rager. That's pretty good. So what else do we have? So this one I think we might actually run. Skirk Ridge Exhumer. So it makes Festering Goblin tokens. If we had Aristocrats, I think this would be a bit easier of an addition. Because this makes these goblins that when they die they get -1/-1 until end of turn. But we do want a discard outlet in black. Discard a card, create a 1/1 black festering black zombie token with this ability. So this is the black version of the Llanowar Mentor, but Festering Goblin is not the most powerful of cards. This might be where we are coming up against a bit of a wall here. It's just we have found the power level outlier. And where it's good, we can run it, but we can't just run bad cards. I think that might be where we are. Yeah, we are struggling just because... Sacrifice 2 creatures, create a 3/1... Undead Servant stuff is quite funny. Let's get rid of token and just look at named. This is where we might get some instant sorceries as well. So... Perfect. So we touched on accumulated knowledge, I think, in a previous video, but this is, I think, something that we are going to add. Accumulated knowledge is a great little instant. It is very strong in multiples. So at a minimum, 1 and a blue, draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named accumulated knowledge in all graveyards. So base level is 1 and a blue, draw a card. But if there's already one in the graveyard, it draws you 2 cards. That's pretty good. How many of these do we want in the cube? I think let's add 2 to begin with, and we might go up after that. So these are blue card draw spells. We might cut a 2-mana one. What do we have? Let's cut. I think we're fine for the time being, but for numbers later, we might cut like Start the TARDIS or Think Twice. But yeah, just having multiples of this in the cube anyway, it is a nice little power up. This might be one we want 3 of, actually, now I'm thinking about it, just because, okay, you want to see them in the cube, and then you want to be rewarded by this as well, but, like, this is a card that kind of, like, if you have multiples of it in your deck, having an effect that doubles up when you cast them is pretty good. So if you have double stroke and 3 copies of Accumulated Knowledge, that's very strong. I think we're kind of borderline. I think it's going to be case by case. I think let's do 3 for accumulated knowledge to begin with, and then we're going to go down and just look at what else. So I'm not sure if we want. So Ancestral Anger is another one that I was thinking of earlier. Sorcery: target creature gains trample and gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is 1 plus the number of cards named Ancestral Anger in your graveyard. So we do have an Is It Blitz deck. So this is a deck that's going to want multiples of combat tricks. And why can't they all have the same name? Ancestral Anger, I think, is a good one. I think there was another one, which might be the reason we might not add it in straight away. Let's actually try and find that, I think. Let's try and find that card. I think we want type instant. I think there's an instant. I can see it. I think it's from Modern Horizons. Where are you? Ooh, Kindle. Another one that cares about multiple card names. We might get to that. Are you a sorcery? Am I gonna miss? I can see the. It's a picture of a person with a hand, and if you know it in chat, do put it in. And it has draw a card on it. Where are you? Anyone know what this card is? We might just... Ooh, Two Brothers Yamazaki. I'm gonna come back to that one, I feel. Alright, let's try this again. Let's... Oracle... So we want cares about name, and we want red. I think it's got draw in it. Alright, let's just add Ancestral Anger for the time being. I don't just want to be faffing around with this. I know this card. I can see this card. But it doesn't see me. So, draw graveyard. This is... What's one? Maybe it doesn't draw us a card. Fist of Flames, thank you! Fist of Flames, draw a card until end of turn, target each gains trample, and almost over each card you've drawn this turn. Oh, that's not what I think it was. That's not what I thought it did. Good card, though. Alright, let's add 3 Ancestral Angers. After all that. Apologies all. Again, first day after the clock's changing, we're not with it yet. Ooh, Afflict? Is that a card name suggestion, or is that a... I mean, this? I don't hate this. Potentially. That could be a cool card with multiples. I think let's try and look for ones... I'm going to keep it on... Maybe for the time being. Let's look at ones with the same names and stuff. That's kind of where we are with this. So, name. So for our Blitz deck, I think this is a cool little overlap. And also, this will also go in our... So Boris in this cube is doing heroic type of stuff. So this is great in there. Again, it rewards you for having multiples. And again, if in a cube with those archetypes, if you just have 2 of these or 3 of these, they're going to be good in the anyway. But if you then team it up with a card that will let you that will copy these effects or will draw you more of them, that's pretty nice. So it's looking like we're going to have 3s of. So to an extent, is this the blue one, is this the red one, and is Llanowar Elves the green one? I don't hate that. Let's see what there is for black. We also might run more of these as well. Like, we're going to get all the tutors in here, which is one thing, but is what it is. Ooh, are we going Dark Supplicant as multiples? Sacrifice 3 clerics, search your graveyard, or hand a library for a card named Sign of Darkness. Ooh. This is another one we could look at. There's a whole cycle of these. Demon's Herald, single black, 2 and a black, tap and sack it. Sack it, a blue creature, a black creature, and a red creature. Search your library for a card named Prince of Thralls. You put this into play. That's pretty vibes. That does reward you for drafting it, I guess. Alright, I know there's a bunch of black cards that care about things with the same name. Oh, look, another Spell Shaper. Love that. Ooh, Graph Rats is kind of vibey. I don't hate Graph Rats. Actually, with this, do we just do the Great Unclean one thing? I think that could be quite interesting. We had a look at that earlier. Because generally with Ooh, Nazgul. Ooh. We have a suggestion in chat. Let's have a look at take inventory. But I am currently liking maybe having 3 Nazgul in here. Okay, yeah. This, I'm guessing looks a bit like a fixed accumulating knowledge. Draw a card, then draw an equal number of accumulating knowledge. Yeah, I think this is a sorcery version of this. I think we're going to go with the AK to begin with, just because this card's messed up, and knowing my play group, I think people will want to do accumulating knowledge. But yeah, this is the perfect type of card that we're after. But I don't hate 3 Nazgul. Like, you could also do Rat Colony, but 3 Nazgul's kind of vibes. 2 mana, 1/2. When enter the battlefield, the ring tempts you, and whenever the ring tempts you, put up some counter on each wraith you control. I don't hate that. I think that's kind of funny. It's more interesting than like Relentless Rats type stuff. Anything else sticking out? This is another cool one that I don't think is power level for this. So, sacrifice this creature, destroy target creature blocking it. 3 mana, 2/2. Sacrifice a creature named Feral Shadow, a creature named Breath Stealer, and a creature named... and this creature, search your library for a card named Spirit of the Night. So you have to sack this one, and this one, and you get this one? I kind of love that, but yeah, I think I'm on the... Let's do 3 Nazgul. And... should we just do Wraith King? Is it Wraith King? I know it's a Wraith. What is the blue-black one that makes more? Yeah, Lord of the Nazgul. I think this is pretty funny. I think let's add Lord of the Nazgul. Right. We are coming to the end of our time for today. So we have... Let's add another Llanowar Elves, I think. So we have 3 of each. We can quickly look at white ones. But we might need to end because we are coming up to 9 o'clock. Let's see if anything stands out. I would like to get white ones in just so we kind of complete the cycle. Let's have a quick look. What kind of stuff are we after? So, Gary Clone could be quite funny. When Gary Clone attacks, each creature you control named Gary Clone gets with 1/0 until end of turn. And it has squad, so it itself can make multiples. I think that's pretty cool. This is the one we looked at earlier. Heir Apparent, I'm not the biggest fan of. You could have multiples of different names of Knights of the Kitchen Sink. Oh, sorry, multiple different of them. That could be quite funny. These are quite hard to cast, is the only thing. And you are leaning into Silver Border, but that could be fun. So Legion Conquistador, I think, is a bit... I'm not super here for it. I think I'm leaning to... Again, because all these are effects or cards that care about things with names. So we are looking for things with multiple. So Templar Knight, another one. Vigilance, tap 5 untapped attacking creatures. You control name Templar Knight, search your library for legendary artifact card into play. We're not going to have 5, that's too much. Tempest Hawk, the fixed Squadron Hawk. Probably not. Wedding Ring is kind of funny, but I don't think that's where we are. Yeah, I think we're going with Gary Clone. I think Gary Clone's kind of vibes. I think that's where we're going to have to end it today. Need to start the day job, everyone. But this is cool. Yeah, so, again, do let us know in the chat or in the comments if there's any other cards you think that would be cool for multiples. Because I'm kind of up for having 3 of one and then maybe a couple of others. Just like, again, like... Rather than having Memory Lapse and Remand, why don't we just have 2 Remands? Rather than having Rampant Growth and Kodama's Reach, why don't we just have 2 Rampant Growths or 2 Kodama's Reach? I think that's going to be a pretty solid way of doing it. Just cards that are kind of already... We want multiples of the effects, so let's just have the same card twice. Like we're not going to do 2 Inties, because that's kind of... I mean, Legend Rule for 1, but like 2 Shriek Wars might be a bit too good, or 2 Chupacabras might be a bit too good. But like, actually, is that too good? They could be fine. It's stuff for us to look at and consider in the future. Thank you all very much for watching. Pleasure to have you all here. Thank you for the chats. Definitely helps out. Gives me some cool ideas for more things to add. Again, let us know. Put in the comments any other multiples of that you think would be cool. Help me out in the next episode. We'll probably do another one sometime this week. I love building cubes, and this is a nice little thing to do. But until next time, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.